Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. That means win or lose, every bet brings you closer to the types of perks only Caesars can offer, like hotel stays at over 50 iconic destinations, bonus bets, daily profit boosts, tickets to the game, dining, and so much more. Whether you're a new or existing customer, Caesars Sportsbook is always rewarding. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Caesars Sportsbook. Don't just spectate, participate.
I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Welcome to News du Jour. You may be wondering, why am I, Annie Bowles, here hosting this podcast? I usually start by telling people I'm a political baby. You see, my parents met working on Capitol Hill. By the time I was 2, I had been in my first political commercial and even got lost crawling around the West Wing. Don't worry, Al Gore found me. My family then moved abroad when I was 9, and I attended an international school in Brussels with kids from all over the world. And it is this type of global perspective that I also bring to our show. I graduated from American University in DC after studying political science and art history, as well as interning on both sides of Capitol Hill. I even interned down the hall from where my parents met. I'm now pursuing a professional certificate in journalism at NYU in conjunction with Rolling Stone magazine. I guess I was always that friend in the group who cared deeply about not just what was going on politically, but also globally. I often kept my own friends informed through high school and into young adulthood, so I guess I've always done a version of this show. I'm genuinely passionate about following the news, and I'm here to break it down for you guys every weekday. We always strive to be a calmer space to get your news. Or, as one listener put it, like getting your news from a well-informed bestie. I'm so glad you're here. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the News du Jour. Very exciting news to kick off with today. Our piece of legislation, Senate Bill 1470, is headed to House Committee tomorrow. I am so excited. This was a last minute announcement, and we currently expect that the bill will head to House floor for a vote next week. This is an incredibly quick turnaround, you guys. I can't emphasize that enough, that this is not normal. It's very fast. I'm nervous, but I'm also super excited. I will be at the Capitol for both of these events, the committee hearing and the vote, and I will definitely keep you guys posted first on social media, but of course on this podcast as well. You can follow along with me on Instagram at It's Annie Bowles, and I will be posting to stories all along the way. And if you're looking to help the bill get passed, the biggest thing that you can do right now is to call Oklahoma State House representatives and ask them to please vote yes on Senate Bill 1470, also known as the Oklahoma Survivors Act. The phone number is 405-521-2711, and then you will be asked which representative you'd like to speak to. So you can ask for any of them, but if you're calling from Oklahoma, definitely know who your rep is and ask for them, at least to start with. It hits home a little bit more if you call your office. But if you're not from Oklahoma, we still would so appreciate you making a few calls. This is the time, this is kind of the crunch moment before the bill, potentially could get under some scrutiny when it comes to the House committee hearing and then, of course, for the vote. So definitely pick up the phone and call now. This is sort of our last push for this, you guys. So it's a very exciting time. You can also email these representatives with a simple form that is linked in our show notes today. It's called UJoin, and it literally just takes seconds to do because we already have it formatted and set up to email the right people. So You pretty much need to just read it over and click send if you just want to send a simple email that is direct and to the point. But if you'd like to embellish it or write something in your own words, you also have that option via UJoin. And again, I will link it in our show notes. All of your help is so appreciated. Let's get this bill across the finish line. And in case anyone is new here, this piece of legislation is a bipartisan bill that helps domestic violence survivors who have been criminalized. There's a lot of backstory that we have logged of this bill, you know, whether it's on our episodes, but also bonus episodes. We have an episode with Nikki Adamando and Michelle Horton, April Wilkins, and Colleen McCarty that will help break down exactly what this bill is all about and what a criminalized survivor even is. It's a new term and it's something that we're helping to raise awareness about. So definitely dive into those episodes because they have a lot more meat when it comes to this push that we're making. So for today's news, we have 2 mini stories for you guys. I'm also going to give you guys an update on Julian Assange. The British courts have made a ruling, at least for now. And then we have 3 business stories to go over, very interesting ones. And then last but not least, I watched the Stormy Daniels documentary for us so that you guys don't even need to see it. I will go ahead and summarize it for you guys in this episode so that we're ready to go for Trump's trial in April. Let's jump in. So first and foremost, our mini stories. Federal agents have reportedly raided a Los Angeles home linked to the rapper known as Diddy. His actual name, of course, is Sean Combs. Homeland Security told the press that this was actually part of a larger investigation, you guys, which is disturbing given that many sexual allegations have come out against Sean Combs. We will definitely keep you guys posted if there's any connection between these seemingly separate cases. And next up for today, a ship crashed into a major bridge in Baltimore yesterday, you guys. It's known as the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It is a landmark, but it's also a bridge that cars drive over. The ship gave several Mayday warnings that it had lost power ahead of the crash and was unable to stop. Officials did everything they could to try and evacuate the bridge, and they evacuated most of it, but some cars did end up in the water, and 6 people remain unaccounted for following this crash. And you guys, if you look up video footage of it online, it is just totally tragic. It's really like, it reminds me of like my son knocking down Legos or something. It just crashes to the ground like it's no big deal, but it's this really major landmark. 8 transportation workers also who were doing maintenance on the bridge at the time of the crash fell into the water. However, all 8 of them were rescued. So not only did Baltimore, though, lose an iconic structure, but we definitely have a major search and rescue to do trying to find these 6 missing people. The FBI is currently teaming up with Maryland officials, and Governor Moore has issued a state of emergency because of this bridge collapse. We'll definitely keep you guys posted, and our prayers are up that these people are found safe and sound. And for our first longer story, we're going to touch on the Julian Assange case. So the High Court in Britain ruled that the WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange, will not be extradited immediately to the US. They want more time to be assured that Julian will be treated fairly here in America. They specifically want him protected from the death penalty. As a reminder, the US has wanted Julian Assange extradited from the UK since 2019. They even got it approved by the British government in 2022. But it has been fought by Mr. Assange all along the way. He and his wife assert that he is a political prisoner and was exercising his freedom of speech, and that his only crime is embarrassing and calling out the United States. But the US doesn't see it that way. Assange published leaked military secrets belonging to the United States, including documents that proved torture and mistreatment of prisoners. And while the public did want to know about these things, and they likely are against 10 different international laws, they were state secrets. And by publishing them, Assange also probably broke US law. And the government wants him to come home and face trial for those potential crimes. This is a story that has been unfolding for many, many years now, but it's still hitting on very potent and impactful questions in this political climate. Is there a line when it comes to freedom of speech? And where is that line? What is the higher law, human rights or commitment to your country? We'll definitely keep you guys posted on this very important unfolding story. And now we will head over to 3 major business stories to touch on. These are super interesting, you guys. First and foremost, the Boeing CEO plans to step down amid all of the company's crises. So the Boeing CEO, Dave Calhoun, has announced that he will be leaving the company at the end of this year. Of course, this comes at a time when Boeing is under more pressure than ever, you guys. They have obviously had a series of horrifying incidents that have left people around the world scared to fly on their airplanes. Not to mention the mysterious suicide of the man set to testify against the company in South Carolina. The air travel industry, of course, is already on super shaky ground. They have been, since even before the pandemic. And these incidents did not help anything. But hopefully his departure will. We'll definitely keep you guys posted. And next up in business news, Trump premieres Truth Social on the stock market. So Donald Trump, by merging with partner company Digital World Acquisition, has finally been able to take Truth Social public. The stock symbol for the company is a predictable DJT for, you guessed it, Donald J. Trump. And the stock was incredibly well received. It had a stellar first day, trading at $74.32 as of about 2 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, according to USA Today. Right before opening on Tuesday, the parent company had a valuation of about $6.8 billion. Some experts are saying that this fever pitch will not last, but we'll definitely be here to keep you guys posted as things progress for this brand new stock option. And lastly, in our business news, WeWork founder wants to buy it back for $500 million. So according to Business Insider, Adam Neumann, the original co-founder of the company WeWork, now wants to buy his company back for a proposed $500 million some dollars. This is mind-blowing because the company had a rise and subsequent fall so dramatic that an entire film series has been made on the subject, starring Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto. Adam, if you guys remember, had a grandiose vision for the company that seemed a little out of touch with reality. Let's just say that the dollars and cents were not adding up, and eventually the financiers who were tasked with saving the company got rid of the shoeless surfer who couldn't seem to make the math work. But he left the company with a pretty sweet deal, financially speaking, and one that many shook their heads at, actually, just given how he had kind of run the company into the ground. And now he wants to come back with those funds and take another stab at it. Will he run things into the ground again? Hard to say. He certainly has had time and space to think about things, maybe gain a little perspective, and come up with a more grounded plan. Either way, you can be sure that we will have the popcorn out to wait and see. And speaking of getting the popcorn out, I watched the Stormy Daniels documentary on Peacock entitled Stormy. I do want to issue a content warning, though. This story involves something that rhymes with corn for those who might have little ears around. I'm not even positive that comes up, but just in case. So I watched the Stormy Daniels documentary on Peacock for us ahead of Trump's upcoming trial scheduled for April the 15th. as a reminder, this is the Manhattan trial that is all about Stormy Daniels and specifically whether or not Trump really paid her off to keep her quiet back in 2016 and whether or not campaign dollars were used for that purpose. And this is so ironic because now him paying her off to keep her quiet may be what actually brings their affair into the spotlight the most and might be the thing that gets him in the most trouble. If you guys remember, these were the first criminal charges to come out against Donald Trump or any former president for that matter. So they are extremely historical and something that we are going to be watching with a magnifying glass. So that's why I wanted to go over this documentary before we even get into the trial, because I wanted to lay the groundwork for everything we're going to be hearing about this trial. Of course, though, it goes without saying that this documentary is told from Stormy's perspective. It's her story, it's her truth, and I just wanted to put that out there before we jump into the details here. But over the years, we have heard from Trump at length on this subject and the narrative that his team so carefully crafted for him. So it only seems fair that now we will hear Stormy's version of events in her own words, and that's exactly what you get from the Stormy documentary. She begins by explaining how she got her start in the adult entertainment industry. Unfortunately, it was the same story a lot of women in that industry have, desperation, lack of support in her life, lack of funds, and lack of options. She then alleges being raped by Donald Trump in a hotel room. Thereafter, the not yet President Trump becomes somewhat obsessed with Stormy. He would call her repeatedly and gave her pet names, things of that nature. He really wanted to see her. He told her he was going to be able to get her on The Apprentice with him. But once it became clear that he could not or would not do that, she simply stopped taking his calls. She then walks through the details of the hush money handoff, which was allegedly deposited by Michael Cohen into Stormy's husband's bank account. And he said that he did not even know about the alleged rape at that time. It seems Stormy may have put this particular ex-husband in a lot of tricky situations just based off of this documentary alone. But then, according to Stormy, when Michael Cohen and Trump began violating the terms of their NDA, which is what she signed when she received that $130,000, she had had enough and she began speaking out publicly, breaking her side of the deal as well. Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Rogen even came on the documentary to back up what Stormy is saying. Jimmy Kimmel specifically said, quote, "One of them is telling the truth and it's not Donald Trump," end quote. She also detailed what happened with her attorney stealing from her and how in the beginning, when this was all unfolding, the hate she was getting was more along the lines of like slut shaming, maybe some light stalking, but people were calling her a tramp and a liar, things of that nature. But now, since January the 6th and since Biden's presidency, the tone is much darker, you guys. People have been making threats against her daughter that are incredibly violent, told her to kill herself, and directly threatened Stormy Daniels' life. So it was good, the documentary. It definitely gave a deeper look into the details surrounding Stormy Daniels' life, the conflict with Trump, etc. But to be honest, I don't think it's really worth a watch. You could probably watch just the first half and gain any valuable information from just the first half. Afterwards, everything slides into her personal life that, for the most part, is messy, to say the least. But speaking of messiness, while we are on the subject, Trump just yesterday was issued a gag order on this trial as well. They do not want him saying things online to try and intimidate jurors, witnesses, prosecutors, court staff, etc., the way he has in the past. At this point, though, guys, I think you are fully prepped for this trial, and we still have a couple weeks to go before it starts. If we have any other updates, I will be sure to let you know, but I'm definitely looking forward to keeping you guys posted every step of the way as we follow this historical trial. And that, for today, is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Don't raise your voice, sharpen your argument." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review on that platform or a shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us to be able to keep creating the news du jour and reach more people who need a calmer space to consume the news. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfree media, and that is also linked in our show notes. You can follow us on social media at newsdujour.podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. You can follow my personal account at It's Annie Bowles on both platforms as well. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour. Broadcasting from Oklahoma.